such a lovely girl, and it's such a waste. Such a waste. She was so polite.
And it just hurts, you know what I mean? Of how young that girl was. She had a whole life ahead of her, and she lost it because of him.
I will.
On November 12, 2021, 19-year-old Ashley Wadsworth traveled from Canada to the United Kingdom to meet her boyfriend, whom she had met online. The girl was overjoyed. After years of online communication, she was finally going to see him. However, no one could have predicted that this happy meeting would turn into a tragedy. Ashley Wadsworth was born on July 25, 2002, in Vernon, a city in British Columbia, Canada. She was the daughter of Kenneth Wadsworth and Christy Gendron, and had an older sister named Haley. The Wadsworth family was large and close-knit. It included more than 50 people, including cousins, aunts, and uncles of varying degrees of relation. They all lived in the same community. Ashley was cheerful and sociable, full of energy, which made her popular. She had many friends. She loved outdoor activities like swimming, horseback riding, and skiing. Ashley also enjoyed tennis and played the clarinet. Moreover, she was very active on social media, constantly sharing memes, jokes, and photos. It was on social media that Ashley met Jack Seppel. They first connected in 2015 when she was 12 and he was 15. It's known that Jack was born on January 9, 1999, and his mother, Tracy Dalton, was married to a man named Ricky. As for Jack's father, who passed away in 2019, their relationship had reportedly been strained. He didn't speak with his brother Jordan, but he did maintain contact with his sister Nadia. Apart from his mother and sister, Jack didn't have many close people in his life. He preferred interacting with others through the internet and video games. According to some of Jack's acquaintances, he often got into trouble at school. Although they remembered him as funny, charming, and loud, they also spoke about his dark side, which would emerge when he got angry and took out his aggression on himself and those around him. It was one of Ashley's friends, who also communicated with Jack on social media, that introduced the two young people. Like many other teenagers, it was natural for Ashley to connect with strangers through various platforms and form virtual friendships, whether they had common interests or were simply drawn to one another. Jack and Ashley quickly became virtual friends. At that time, she didn't have a smartphone, so she used the family computer to access social media, meaning her friendship with the Englishman was never a secret from her relatives. According to Ashley's mother, during their long-distance friendship, Jack had several relationships with other girls, and Ashley also went through typical teenage experiences. Despite periods when they stopped communicating, the connection between the two young people never completely disappeared, and they continued talking for years. As Ashley and Jack grew older, their relationship changed. They began communicating not only through social media, but also via video calls, making their bond more intimate and romantic. Soon, Jack became a familiar face to Ashley's family. If they happened to walk by while the two were chatting, they would often greet him as if he was really sitting in their living room. Moreover, he frequently sent Ashley gifts, teddy bears, and handbags. Ashley's relatives said she compared every boy she met with Jack. Due to the 8-hour time difference between Vernon and Essex, where Jack lived, the young couple would wake up too early and go to bed too late, just to have the chance to talk. In 2018, when Ashley was 15, she began expressing interest in meeting Jack in person. However, her family wouldn't allow her to travel alone to another continent. Periodically, like any couple, the young pair would argue. If these arguments led Ashley to block Jack on social media, he would create new accounts or send her messages through his sister or friends. This was troubling and obsessive to Ashley's loved ones, but she insisted that Jack was a kind and caring person. In October 2018, Jack got Ashley's name tattooed on his arm. At that time, she was 16 and he was 19. Her parents thought this display of love was excessive and warned her to be careful and to never even think of doing something similar. Soon after, during one of their arguments, Jack cut into the tattoo with Ashley's name. After that, he started showing himself to be jealous and controlling. He would get angry if he thought Ashley was spending time with other boys, though he himself continued seeing other girls. But he insisted that Ashley was his favorite and said she was the only one he truly needed. One day, Ashley received a call from a girl who was at Jack's house. She told Ashley that Jack wouldn't let her leave. According to a friend who witnessed this conversation, Ashley wasn't upset. She reacted as though she was used to such situations. She simply asked Jack to stop acting crazy. Ashley didn't tell her parents about this, but she confided in her friends, who urged her to cut ties with him. Despite the many fights and Jack's troubling behavior, the pair would always reconcile. Ashley was only 18 and had known Jack since she was a young teenager, but it seemed she didn't fully understand the extent of his manipulation. At a young age, Ashley began working in fast food restaurants and department stores, which allowed her to save money for things she enjoyed. The first thing she bought was a tablet, so she could use social media more privately. Then, she started saving for a big trip. In her final year of high school, Ashley, who had always been a deeply spiritual and curious person, had a moment of revelation after reading the Book of Mormon, and began following the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. In 2020, Ashley graduated from Seton Secondary School. She planned to study law at Thompson Rivers University to become a lawyer, but she didn't enroll right away. Due to the pandemic caused by COVID-19, classes were held via video conferencing. Ashley wanted to fully immerse herself in the university community, so she decided to take a gap year before continuing her studies. In the first half of 2021, she kept working and saving money, and in April of that year, she was baptized into the Mormon faith. It was then that Ashley, who had always been a bold and determined young woman, decided to travel to the United Kingdom to meet Jack in person and spend his birthday with him. Her parents and friends were not thrilled with the idea, but nothing could stop her. She had her own money, and she was an adult. On November 12, 2021, Ashley traveled from Canada to the United Kingdom on a 6-month tourist visa. It was her first time leaving her home country, and she was thrilled about it. Ashley and Jack met in person for the first time on November 13, 2021. That very same day, Ashley changed her profile picture to one of the two of them together. By then, Jack was already 22 years old, and he looked much older than Ashley. He was covered in tattoos, even on his face, and the contrast with the young, lively 19-year-old girl was obvious. During her stay in London, Ashley lived at Jack's house. Since 2020, he had been living alone in an annex in a public housing complex in the northwest part of Chelmsford. The area had a questionable reputation, but the couple spent time exploring more beautiful areas of the city in Essex. Jack seemed like the same person Ashley had met online. He was affectionate, caring, showering her with compliments, and never refused a romantic selfie. But he was unpredictable and could be cruel. They spent every day together. Since Ashley was on a tourist visa, she couldn't work, and Jack was unemployed. He received government benefits and sometimes relied on support from his mother, Tracy, who lived nearby. Ashley made a point to frequently post photos and updates about her trip online. In most of the pictures, the couple is shown hugging, clearly enjoying their time together and the romantic moments they were sharing. Ashley stayed in constant contact with her family via video calls, and everything seemed to be going well. They even adopted a kitten, whom they named Winston. However, over time, Jack began to withdraw. He no longer wanted to go out or see the sights, preferring instead to stay home, smoke illegal substances, and play video games. Being in a foreign country, Ashley had little she could do on her own. Despite her love for the outdoors, her activities became limited to whatever Jack wanted to do. Before her trip to England, one of Ashley's friends from church introduced her to American missionaries who would be in Chelmsford at the same time as her. Ashley was eager to meet and befriend these young people who shared her faith. but Jack wouldn't allow her to attend church on Sundays. However, she kept in touch with them through text messages. To make sure Jack didn't find out, she would delete the conversations from her phone. Her new friends from the church quickly realized that Jack was controlling her, and possibly being abusive. As she discussed her problems with them, Ashley admitted that she knew she deserved better, but she just wanted Jack to be happy. The abuse wasn't just about controlling her communication with others. About 6 weeks after Ashley arrived, Jack sent a message to his mother, saying that he had beaten Ashley because he found out she had blocked 2 British numbers on her phone years ago. He assumed they belonged to other men, which triggered a jealous rage. Though in her public social media posts, Ashley continued to show pictures of what seemed to be a perfect trip. She secretly created another profile where she began documenting her bruises. Ashley didn't hide the abuse from her sister Haley, but she threatened to cut off contact if Haley told their mother, because she didn't want her family to hate Jack. At the end of December 2021, Jack took an excessive amount of anxiety medication. Ashley called an ambulance, which rushed him to the hospital, where he received treatment for the overdose. After that, Ashley was made Jack's caregiver, and she took responsibility for managing his medication. Although Ashley didn't tell her mother or friends, Haley accidentally let the secret slip. Naturally, their mother was worried and begged her daughter to come home, but Ashley insisted that Jack needed to recover first. In early January 2022, another incident occurred. Jack smashed a beer glass over Ashley's head. Crying, she called her sister over video chat, while Jack forced her to clean up the broken shards. In the background, Haley could see Jack pacing back and forth, shouting and clenching his teeth. Haley begged her sister to come home, but it was no use. On the 9th of that same month, Jack, as if nothing had happened, celebrated his 23rd birthday with his family. Soon after, Jack's mother and her husband organized a family trip to a small seaside town, hoping that a change of scenery would ease the tension. In the photos, everything looked so perfect that even Ashley's parents, unaware of the gravity of the situation, sighed with relief, seeing their daughter's apparent calm and happiness. But that calm didn't last long. During an argument at the end of January, Jack hit Ashley again. He also threw a candle and a TV remote at her, all while she was on a video call with Haley, who once again begged her to come home. At first, Ashley agreed, but soon changed her mind. She believed that somewhere inside this cruel man was the charming boy she had known for so many years. Ashley prayed that time, medication, or her love could heal him. Based on conversations with his mother, it seemed that Jack was aware of the cycle he was putting Ashley through. He would accuse her of infidelity, beat her, then apologize. Though Jack appeared to feel guilty about his actions, it wasn't enough to stop the tragedy that eventually occurred. On the morning of February 1st, 2022, Jack got angry at Ashley again, accusing her of sneaking around and meeting other people behind his back. He even demanded that she show him her phone and let him check all her social media accounts. Just before 8 a.m., Helen Bortonshaw, Jack's neighbor, heard Ashley screaming through the shared wall, and a few minutes later, she appeared at his door. When the door opened, Helen saw Ashley, barefoot and crying, with blood dripping from a cut on her palm. The victim explained that Jack had caught her looking at a photo of a naked woman and flew into a rage. He verbally abused her, hit her, smashed her phone, and even threw her kitten against the wall. Despite fearing that Jack might try to kill her, Ashley begged Helen not to call the police. Helen agreed, but pleaded with Ashley to come with her to see a doctor instead of going back into the apartment with Jack. Ashley refused, so Helen decided to go talk to Jack herself. He apologized for what had happened, remaining calm, and Helen left for her doctor's appointment. Around 9 a.m., another neighbor, Lucy, brought Jack a package that had been delivered to her address by mistake. Jack was very reluctant to open the door, but Lucy didn't think much of it, as she knew he was unfriendly and paranoid. Around the same time, Ashley called her family using Jack's phone. It was just past midnight in Vernon, but by then, Her mother already knew about everything that was happening with Jack, as Haley couldn't keep it a secret any longer and had told their parents everything. Her parents immediately bought her a return ticket for February 3rd. When Ashley told Jack that she was leaving in 2 days, he agreed to accompany her to take the COVID test required for her trip, and even said he'd drive her to the airport. Ashley's mother warned her to go straight to the airport if Jack attacked her again, and she told Jack that she would call the police if he hurt her daughter one more time. The conversation between Ashley and her family lasted for about 3 hours. When they finally ended the call, it was 11 a.m. in Chelmsford and 3 a.m. in Vernon. Just a few minutes later, Jack sent a message to his mother, confessing that he had brutally beaten Ashley again, knocking her to the floor, and possibly breaking her arm. Between 11:22 a.m. and 12:38 p.m., Ashley sent several messages to her family and friends using Jack's phone, but since it was the middle of the night, no one responded. She also reached out to her friends from church in Chelmsford, pleading for help, telling them it was an emergency. Tragically, these messages were only seen hours later, when it was already too late. Between 12:38 p.m. and 12:45 p.m., Jack attacked Ashley, strangling her until she stopped breathing. He then went to the kitchen, grabbed an 11-centimeter knife, and stabbed her repeatedly, about 100 times in the chest and stomach. After ending his girlfriend's life in such a horrific way, Jack went about his usual routine. Later, he changed his profile picture to an image of himself with Ashley, accompanied by the caption, "Always mine." He even recorded a video message addressed to Haley, in which he said he loved Ashley, that he was terribly sorry, but he couldn't let her go, and that his mind wasn't working right. In the video, which was never sent, Ashley's lifeless body could be seen next to him. While all this was happening in England, Ashley's family in Vernon woke up to a flood of messages she had sent them. Alarmed, they called Jamie Ashworth, one of their Mormon friends in Chelmsford. Jamie and Tyler Borden, another church acquaintance, headed to Jack's apartment. They knocked on the door but got no response, so they called the police and left. At the same time, Ashley's best friend in Vernon noticed she hadn't been active on social media. Desperate, she sent her a message. On the other end, it was Jack, pretending to be Ashley. He told her friend that he had sent those messages because he needed help passing a COVID test, but now, it didn't matter anymore. Messages from Ashley's family and friends kept coming, but Jack ignored them. They were all desperately trying to get a sign from her. Finally, Jack called his sister Nadia. When she picked up, he confessed to killing Ashley and even showed her the body. It was around 4:13 p.m. when the police entered the apartment, responding to Jamie's call. Despite the fact that it only took them 10 minutes to get there, it was already too late. The police arrested Jack on the spot. He was covered in blood. He told the officers that he had suffered a psychotic episode and confessed to the crime. After that, he was taken to the prison in Chelmsford. The trial was scheduled for September 7, 2022, at the Chelmsford Crown Court. Toxicology reports showed that Jack only had traces of mild illegal substances and a small amount of anti-anxiety medication in his system. Additionally, according to the results of a psychiatric evaluation, the defendant was deemed fit to stand trial and testify. The evidence against Jack was overwhelming, including a video recording of his confession to the crime. He immediately pleaded guilty, and the judge told him that given his admission, there could only be one sentence: life imprisonment. On the day of the hearings, which took place at Chelmsford Crown Court under the supervision of Judge Edward Murray, prosecutor Simon Spence read out the details of Jack's criminal record, which dated back to his teenage years. It was then that Ashley's parents learned the truth, who their daughter's boyfriend really was. Jack had been in trouble with the law since 2014. He had been arrested multiple times for stalking women, kidnapping, unlawful confinement, and violent assaults. He had also been issued several restraining orders, one against his mother and another against his girlfriend. Ashley's parents were devastated when they learned about the criminal past of the man who had taken their daughter's life. During the hearings, the prosecution and defense exchanged views on a letter Jack had sent to Ashley's family from prison in which he expressed remorse for what he had done. After the hearing, Judge Murray allowed the letter to be published in the media, citing the principle of open justice. In the letter, addressed to Ashley's entire family, but especially to her mother and her sister Haley, Jack stated that he understood, no matter what he said or did, nothing could bring Ashley back or take away the pain they were feeling. Regretting his actions, Jack told them that they knew about his mental health issues because he had been open about them with Ashley. He added that his condition had rapidly deteriorated and that, although it was no excuse, intrusive thoughts had greatly influenced his thinking and actions. Given the long history of violence presented by the prosecutor and his guilty plea, Jack Sapel was sentenced to life imprisonment with the possibility of parole in 23 years.
Thanks for watching, friends. What do you think about this story? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'm always interested in your opinions. Subscribe to my channel, there's much more to come. See you next time.